I had grown up with an addict brother and really watched him get all of this attention. And I was the good child. I never misbehaved. I really did well. I played sport. I had friends. Outwardly, would have never known in a million years what was actually going on for me. And eventually, that just got too hard to maintain. And so when other people around me started to do things like drink or go out, I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. And that felt more normal to me. I felt more accepted. I felt more relaxed. It helped me take the edge off, and that was the hook, obviously. And I just wanted more of that because the other stuff that I had was more anxiety, more fear, more uptight, more perfectionism, more not good enough. I wanted more not caring. And yes, I agree with you about the junkie pride. And for a long time, I had that. I was like, I've got a cool story. I want to tell people I've got a cool story. But the work I do now is more along the lines of letting people know that, first of all, everyone in this country is living in trauma and finds ways to escape in one form or another. And you don't have to have experienced anything bad to need help and to be able to get the help that you needed to make the changes. And I think that's one of the misconceptions about addiction, that you need to have hit some type of a rock bottom before you get help. Well, let me tell you, rock bottom always has a basement, so there isn't such a thing, and usually it's death at the end of that road. So you could be scrolling mindlessly through social media every night. And that should be enough of a thing that's affecting your life negatively for you to actually need help getting out of. Yeah, and I relate to that. I mean, to this day, I still have these dysfunctional habits that kind of creep in progressively that I have to address regularly.
I want to read a little bit from the last part of the book. I believe that we all live behind bars in prisons of our own creation. We stay hidden in the dark, lonely corners of our fear-filled hearts. We are suffocated by indecision, trapped by self-doubt, and stuck in the twilight zone of inner paralysis. Having served my time and found the courage to start again, I know that it's possible for all of us to break free. And I mean, that in the end is the most powerful and overriding thing about you, Nikki Munitz, and about your book. Your book is just an element of you. The book is just the calling card. Your life is much bigger than a book, than it is. You've embodied true transformation in terms of having been on the floor in a rat-infested hole, got through no put, got through overdoses, got through bloody prison. Guys, imagine spending one day in jail, and she goes and she has to spend 2 sessions in prison. I mean, that blew my mind, and I want to talk a bit about prison just now. But then afterwards, to have recreated your space, your life, and to be doing the work that you're doing with people. Do you feel proud of yourself for this? I hope so.
Oh God, I do. There are 2 experiences in my life that are so back to front where I felt the most free. Once was in Nopert and once was in prison. And it's so hard to explain to people that those are the times where I could just be me. There was no pretenses. I didn't have to worry about feeding children, showing up at work, none of that. And there was peace in that for me. And I think, for most people, when they hear that, they must think I've lost my marbles. But aside from the fact that in prison I obviously did this self-esteem course, which led me to Celia, which changed my life and hopefully changing many other people's lives in the process. I experienced peace in those places.
I get it. I mean, I landed up on a homeless farm. It wasn't Nopert, but it was kind of similar. It was very Christian-based, and we had to pray a lot and go to church. But it was hard labor, expired food that you got from all the, wherever anyone made charity drops. Let's get the phone off. Whose phone? Airplane mode. No, don't worry. And there's something, and I remember, I mean, my son is here tonight, but my ex-husband brought my son to visit me. And I was so entrenched in this like routine of the homeless farm, which was my own prison, that I was so terrified to go out into the real world again, because somehow the bell that rings, the place you go to, the thing that is almost decided for you.
Yeah.
And that must have been a bit like that in jail for you.
Very much. Everything is, now it's wake up time, now it's parade time, now it's eat time, now you don't have to think about anything. And I think I often will say, I've got decision fatigue because I have to make 50 million decisions every single day. And in those spaces where I just have to show up, it was peaceful.
And you get out of jail and instead of the kind of like the, what do you call, the cliche of, I'm free and everything's going to be fantastic, that's when you go through a really difficult time. Did you miss prison in some way?
I felt like I was still in prison. I just took it with me. I had no idea that was going to be how things were going to unfold, and the way that I understand it now obviously makes sense, is that I'd always been fighting some type of a battle, and now the battle was over. I'd just come home from Vietnam and there was no more war, and what does a soldier do when there's no more war? I was lost. So I made fights up, I created battles, I created turmoil in my life, because I didn't know what else to do. That for me was probably one of the most challenging times in my life, because I just, there was always something. I was, now I've got to get clean, now I'm going to jail, now I'm doing this, now I'm getting divorced, now I'm like needing to deal with my children. And now it was like, that was all done. And even though I was under house arrest and parole, even that was, like, I understood it, it was really straightforward, it was clear. That wasn't really a battle for me anymore. And so I understood at that point that the battle was internal. And in fact, it's been internal the whole time. And I think that was really symbolic for me. And that's when I met Celia, because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to use drugs, but I also don't want to live like this. Okay, Celia, you need to help me or I'm going to kill myself. Like, those are my two options. Like, that was the point. And at that, I was 8 years clean. This wasn't that I was living a difficult life. I had an incredible job at like this prestigious rehab. I went to work every day. Everyone had the utmost respect for me. And internally, I was like, oh my God, I hate this life. I don't want to do this.
Okay, this is the $1 million question, and maybe this is what everybody, but what did Celia really teach you? Like, what did she tell you? What did she show you that made your mind go, oh my God, I get it?
Honestly, I think the first thing she did was she just listened to me. I don't think anyone had ever just listened to me. And without judgment, without needing to fix anything or change, she just listened. And she didn't panic when I told her how I was feeling. I felt like it was okay and that it was going to be okay. And she made it so simple, the process of understanding why I felt that way. And although it would be a long journey, it was really simple, the work that we needed to do. I just required it to be consistent. And I think because I trusted her, I think I really had no choice at that point. I had nowhere else to turn, but luckily that turned out well, and it was a game changer for me. And I think it's really that simple. Everyone thinks you need to have these, major psychological. I had a question today from one of my clients' family members saying, but what is the actual issue? And when I say, well, it's just self-esteem, they're like, no, but what is the actual issue? I was like, oh, that is the actual issue.
So let's just talk about that, because self-esteem, since I remember, I was this big, there was always this word bandied around. Self-esteem, you've got bad or you've got good and that. But like I never really understood what it was. It was just used, it was like almost if you've got bad self-esteem, you're a bad person, and if you've got good self-esteem, you sort of were like an okay person. So as briefly or as in depth, and you can choose which either way to go in this, but tell us a little bit what self-esteem entails.
So I'll tell it from like the overview kind of perspective, and then how it fitted in for me. We get programmed from the second we hit the earth, in fact probably even in utero, and we get programmed by society, by people in our lives, and generally by people whose own self-esteem is really not that great. And so they teach us what they know, and what they know is that, you know, if you have the right job, the right house, the right car, the right whatever, then all will be well. And then we live our lives striving for that, and then we get that, and we're like, shit, I must be broken because I still don't feel that way. And I think everyone else around me does, but they don't. And we don't talk about it. So I think I'm defective in some way. And that's certainly how I live, you know. And that's why I tried being the good girl, the perfect child, everything was wonderful. And I was like, oh my God, this feels shit still. Okay, let me go the other direction. Oh, this also feels shit still. So like, what is the actual answer? And that's when I realized that, I mean, in a nutshell, I got programmed incorrectly. And I needed to go on a journey of reprogramming my own understanding of me, my own knowledge and belief around my value and worth in the context of the world, and yeah, to basically reparent myself, because as amazing as your parents would have been for you, excuse my French, they fucked you up somewhere along the line, guaranteed. Like, with intention, without intention. And so I almost feel like our adult life is a journey of unlearning all the stuff that we were taught, and replacing it with more accurate information that we learn about ourselves. And that it's our responsibility to go on that journey and to gather knowledge and information about ourselves so that we can interact in the world differently.
Yeah, and about falling in love really with yourself again.
Yeah, well, I don't know about again. It certainly was a
first time. That's a foreign experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we mentioned in the book that my mother had bought me this T-shirt, "Monsters Need Love Too," and I really was raised with that belief. I was a monster, you know, and I was a brat, and I was difficult, and I was ungrateful, and I lived up to that for a huge chunk of my life, and still do sometimes. And so this belief system was instilled by other people's opinions of me, and now as I get to know myself, I'm not that person. You know, I can be ungrateful sometimes, but I'm not an ungrateful monster. That's not how I would describe myself. You know, I would describe myself as loving and caring and considerate and supportive, and a million other ways besides an ungrateful monster. And I wouldn't have known that without going on this journey, because the people around me didn't teach that to me about myself. And in fact, people generally don't learn anything about themselves, because if we say nice things about ourselves, it's like, oh, that's conceited, it's arrogant, what will people think about you? You know, so we're told not to say nice things about ourselves. It goes completely against everything that we get taught. So yeah, it is a journey of getting to know, like any relationship. As I get to know someone and I learn these beautiful things about this person, how can I not love them?
And love is such it's a very strong theme in the book, and a lot of the book deals with an incredible amount of toxic love. And no one, I think, epitomizes it more in terms of a relationship than the one you have with your JD.
You can call him that.
We call him, what's his name? Jake. And Dad. That's basically what leads you into getting caught for a fraud and landing you in prison.
Yeah.
And how dangerous love can be when it is as toxic as what it is for you in a certain period of your life. Tell us a bit about that relationship.
Well, I think even before the toxicity of the relationship, the dangerous part before that is the bullshit fairy tales that I got fed as a child, that I thought what love was supposed to be like. And then I met this guy in a very romantic setting in rehab, as it is. And he had been dropped in at rehab in a Rolls Royce, and he wrote me this letter about how he wants to fight with me over the credit card bills, and I was like, sold. I'm in.
And he was good looking.
And that really helped. He looked like he was the full package. His sisters were really educated, his parents were still married. I was like, tick, 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 and I was like, I'm so grateful, he chose me. And he, don't believe everything you see on the front cover. And I think that what really caught me, unfortunately, was that at face value, it looked like everything that I was looking for. I grew up, my mom was a single mom with 4 children, all under the age of 18. We went to a private school, but we really didn't have. And so for me, when I thought, I'm going to have this amazing life with lots of money and freedom, and I was like, yes, it's finally, I've like hit the jackpot. And when Pastor Sophos at Nopro had said to me, oh my girl, he's going to like chew you up and spit you out, I was like, yeah, they just don't want to support our love.
It's amazing how deluded people are when you are in rehab and you are falling in love with people, and it's so enticing because it's when you're the most broken. And to latch onto somebody feels like, it is another drug. And they always tell you don't get involved in relationships and that, but look, are they nice to get involved in because you're so screwed up. And this guy, you have this idea that you're going to have this happily ever after with him.
Yeah. And then I should have known that when I came out of Northwood and he was back in rehab, that should have been my first warning sign. But I ignored that one. And then I thought, okay, well, then his parents said, come move in with us. And I thought I was going to this palace in Pretoria next to Oscar Pistorius' uncle. And they had this beautiful giant property, but it was like a shack, basically. And I was like, oh no, that's not a warning sign either. This is real love. And obviously all the physical abuse, etc. Like every warning sign was, instead of using it as saying like, this is not okay, I was like, I'm not okay, I need to try harder. Like that was the message.
And then fast forward, because I think one of the, let's be honest, the very enticing thing about the book is the actual fraud. I've said, oh, we're all frauds and everything, but the white collar crime thing is a very enticing thing to find out about what actually happened. So let's speed up to that point.
Sure.
And you are needing money because this whole family is absolutely hopeless now in terms of they are not this loaded family. So what goes through your mind on that first time that it happens?
Honestly, probably the same thing that went through my mind the first time I used, and every relapse that I had was like, it's just this once and then I'll sort it out and I won't do it again. And then you get away with it. And you're like, oh, okay, just this once and then I won't do it again, and just this once and I won't do it again. And I pled guilty to 37 counts of fraud, but I'm pretty sure it was more than that. Yeah,
Were you getting a kick out of it?
I think initially, sure. It was nice to buy nice things with someone else's money. It was amazing. And then it was terrifying and suffocating. And, I think back to when I was pregnant with my son, and I was so afraid of being caught that I had him on the Friday, I had a Caesar, and I went back to work on the Monday just to try and cover my tracks. I didn't want to get caught.
Geez, you must have been living in such a stressful, because that thing of being caught and then also carrying on doing it.
Yeah, obviously it got to a point where I didn't want to carry on doing it anymore, because that bullshit story that I told myself I'm going to put the money back, I was way past that. I was like, I'm never putting this money back. However am I going to do that? And you know, one of the attorneys that testified at my trial said she heard me on the phone one day with JP saying, please, I don't want to do this again. And he was saying, just one last time. And of course, that was not the last time anyway. So, like, I knew at that point I actually just couldn't carry on, but I was trapped. And whether I'd done it another 10 times didn't really matter, because I'd already done it so much that I was in a deep hole. I don't know. It wasn't a question of if I would get caught, it was a when I would get caught. And even then I blamed the lawyers, because I thought to myself, why did they not check their books sooner? I wouldn't have been able to steal so much. I mean, of course it was their fault.
Yeah. And I mean, in the end, the court found that you were the guilty one, and I always said that, in a way, like, nobody can really, like, as much as other people are saying do it more and more, in the end, you're the one who's doing it. But so much has happened since then, and you're very free in the admission of this. And I think that's what the power of the book, but not just the power of the book, the power of you, Nikki, is how okay you are about speaking about a dark time in your life, because you have crossed over to a very different place.
I think I still have my shameful moments about it, and embarrassment, but it was, my story was so public when I was going through it. Partly because I live in a community where there are no secrets, but also, you know, I needed help. I couldn't afford like legal help, etc., and so I had to put the story out there and beg for assistance, because there was no money left for anything. And so I think that allowed me to go through the process of like letting go of the shame, but also that I just had my consequence. I served my time. So I think if I'd got away with it, I don't know how I would be feeling. I'm not sure.
Well, you definitely wouldn't have written a book.
Well, no.
You definitely wouldn't be having an amazing, flourishing, self-esteem, business, coaching. You wouldn't be any of this. I mean, in fact, all of it needed to happen in order for you to sit here today.
It's so interesting, because my son, who isn't here tonight, because I asked him not to be here tonight, I've asked my children not to read the book for now. Even though they know the majority of the story, just to hear it said in certain ways and whatever, I just felt it's really painful and opening a wound that I don't think is particularly helpful. And if they choose to read it, I've asked them to just chat to me first so we can unpack it. And I believe that my children will respect that. But before I came here tonight, I was explaining to my son, you know why you're not coming tonight, and are you okay with it? And I'm so grateful for everything. And he just said to me, but Mom, if you hadn't been through all of that, then this wouldn't be happening. I was like, 16-year-olds are wise.
It really does feel like that. I'd love to open it up if there's anyone who would like to ask something, or make comments, or even just talk about yourself for a bit. If you'd like to say anything or ask anything, please put your hand up.
Before we do that, I want to say something.
Okay.
I just want to really acknowledge Elke, because Elke and I, we became friends because Elke came from a different school to King David and didn't really have any friends, and I didn't really have any friends, and we went on a swimming tour, and we had no one to stay with in a room, so they put us together like two sad little losers. And we've been friends ever since. And I mean, Elke has been with me through everything, and she really never judged me. And so, she writes incredibly well, but I also couldn't have thought of anybody else that I would have liked to do this. And it's very good.
There's two people at the back. Oh, how does
we
your
can't-
mother feel? But let's just wait. Let's just. Have you got a...
Okay, so I haven't read the book. Needed to bring my kids here because worried about my kids and what's going on in life. They go through teens, 14, 20s. So there's many things I need to go see people about because I'm worried about drugs, alcohol, and. Maybe even fraud, because that's what happened. How long were you in prison for?
Altogether, I did 9.5 months, but initially I got sentenced to 8 years, but fought the process until we got it down to 3 years. So I did 9.5 months inside and the rest under house arrest.
And your kitties, how are they? All fine, all good?
They're amazing. So, I mean, I tell you that I didn't want my kids here today, but Rabbi Roddle, who is here today, was with me the night. The first time I went into prison, I told my children the night before. And they had no idea, because I knew for a month already that I was going in. And I had the social worker, and I had the rabbi, and I had these two little humans looking at me with like, what? You know, what do you mean? You did something wrong and now you have to go to jail, like, and you're not going to be here tomorrow when you come home from school. Like, I don't understand. And I think when people ask me what's the most important thing with children, my answer is always the same, and it's honesty. Like, to be honest with the kids.
I'm trying to do that, and so nice to meet you. Best evening ever, and well done.
Thank you. Kids, don't be embarrassed. Your mother loves you very much. I can see.
How did your mom feel about all this, and did she forgive you in your life?
That's an interesting question, if she forgave me. So I've been speaking a lot about it. None of my family members have engaged with me about this book at all. I don't know whether they're interested in reading it or not interested in reading it. I'm sure a lot of them are terrified as to what I would have said about them. Lucky for them, legal gets involved. But my mother did actually say congratulations about the book. I don't think she's read it because I'm not sure she'd be saying that to me. No, I don't have contact with her. I have tried for many years. I become somebody I really don't like when I engage with her. So I choose not to engage. And I believe that just because someone is a biological relative doesn't mean you have to have them in your life.
The Jewish community and your friends, for example, that time at school, how did they treat you once they found out you were going to jail or you were in jail? Anyone supporting the community, or you ostracized, or how was it?
Well, I'm pretty sure I was gossiped about, but I wasn't necessarily like really involved in the community. The Chabad Shul embraced me, and Torah Academy embraced me. I actually think about, I was going to miss Mother's Day, and Torah Academy cancelled Mother's Day at school. I landed up actually coming home before that, but that was the level of support that I received. Also, Rabbi Ronald, just to let you know, sorry, I'm talking a lot about you, Rabbi, because I'm really grateful that you're here. He bought a gift for my children for every Shabbos while I was away.
How long were you in Rockford for, and what was it like?
Prison was better. I was in Noakwood for just over 11 months. The agreement when I went in, I had done this beautiful rehab in Cape Town and I had relapsed, and my mother said, right, you need to go back into treatment. And I said, lovely, there's a nice one in Plett I've heard about. And she said to me, no. Your time at the beach is done. You're now going to go like somewhere different, and you go for a year or you don't get to come home. That was the agreement. And the only reason I came home 1 month short was eventually I ended up getting kicked out because I stood up to abuse that was happening there, and that wasn't really taken kindly. Yeah.
Are there any more questions? Celia.
I'd just like to say, Nikki, that I'm proud of you, is that you have made a commitment to yourself to grow and to flourish and prosper, and you're living that. And I think it's inspirational beyond words. And we're all so proud of you that you're sitting there tonight and able to talk so articulately about yourself. It's very beautiful. Thank you.
Nikki, I just want to tell you that I'm convinced with your book. Seeing you at the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning, that tells you a lot about the person you are. Irrespective of anything that you've been through, and you know, I'm sitting here and you're an incredible human being. Can we clap for that?
Yes.
5 a.m.
Thank you, Vanessa.
5 a.m. Why so late?
Nick, when I was really going through a dark, difficult time, Nick used to train 6 days a week, 4:30 till 6 a.m. He's the crazy one, not me.
If you can ask, who looked after your kids while you were away?
Sure. So when I went into prison the first time, for those of you that haven't read the book, I went into prison and continued to fight to reduce my sentence. And then I came out and I went on to the Supreme Court and we won, and I ended up having to go back into prison but with a lesser sentence. So the first time was my mom and the entire Chabad community. And the second time it was really a bizarre experience. My now husband, I met him 6 months before I went to jail. And on our first date, I told him, I think I'm going to jail. And he must have thought, this chick's nuts. She can't be serious. And anyway, he hung around. And when I went to jail, he just said, you know, I don't have to worry about my kids. He moved in with my mom, which I wouldn't suggest to anyone in sane mind. And he helped look after my children. And today he's adopted them. So, yeah.
I've on purpose tried to, I'm going to let you talk, but I've on purpose tried to not tell the story of the book tonight. I've jumped all over the place, gone this way and that way, because guys, the way you're going to really, really get all the answers is when you read the book. And now I'm not just being the publisher saying there's a whole lot of books being sold out there, but it will all make great sense, because we haven't even touched on Clive yet. And we're not going to spend a whole nother time talking about it, but that's like a whole amazing, huge part of the book. Anyway, just in case you wondered why I jumped around so much.
What kind of relationship does your kids have with your mother?
They don't. And by their choice, not mine.
Okay, so last question from me. My kids have run away.
Shame they're embarrassed.
They're not interested. But, so your kids, any different relationship because you've got 2 kids, right? I've got 2 kids. I don't know if I did what I gave, they would freak out, but are your kids as in love with you as they would be still if you hadn't done that?
I think they would be closer because of it.
Okay, cool. That's all I
It's a trauma bond.
They were here, they're gone.
Doing a good
So
job.
You're embarrassing your kids. You're doing a great job.
Oh, is that it? Oh.
I think I have to say something. Me and Nikki have got a relationship spanning like years and years and years. So to actually sit down after she begged me to write her story, I mean, Melinda gave me the courage and the confidence to know that I could. But just to embody Nikki, I mean, the book is written in the first person, so I needed to become her, which was not always a very nice place to be. It was a very hard journey for me, and I want to thank my family and my husband and my mom and my sister and all my beautiful people behind me here for all the encouragement and the support, and I think, you know, this story needed to be told. I mean, we discussed it a long, long time ago, but the story was half of what it is now. And I think I saw Nikki's, I was with her all through the story. I knew the characters in the story. I was on the dance floor at a rave with her while we were jawing at, you know. I saw her when she walked into my office with a pregnant baby telling me she was going to be a mom. And so I was with her, holding her hand through the whole journey, cheerleading, you know, every step of the way, and no judgment, any of it. But I think when I saw this shift when she came out of prison and she had done the work with Celia, it was just so powerful, Nix. It was just so powerful to see you in a space where I knew that you had shit to do and stuff to say and people to influence, and yeah, I hope this book, I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of you and me. And I really just want this book, Nikki's intention is for it to go out and to inspire hope, and she is an absolute example of that. So, yeah.
There's another question.
Thank you. I don't have a question. Nikki, I met you 18 months ago. I came to your office, pretty broken, and I sat in the chair next to that one, and wishing you could swallow me. But you took me on a journey of self-esteem, self-discovery, parenting myself, just learning how to love me and to accept me in all that is me, and it's been amazing. The experience with me, so that I can be a better version of me. And yeah, I look forward to reading the book. I don't read, I'm going to read this book.
There's another one. Okay, let's go.
I've been sort of basically you said what I wanted to. We also met this last year, June. We did the South people together. I'm not keen. Still am. But I was. Not about me. I'm sure and I hope that you be reminded of them and of what you deserve, just to remind you the massive impact that you have on those around you. And although we haven't seen each other or been in contact, know that you changed my life.
I'm being brave. I just want to say, Nikki saved my life. I've known Nikki from the very first rehab I went to, which my next rehab and Nikki was there. Which my next rehab and Nikki was there. Yes.
How many rehabs?
7. And my last relapse, and Nikki has saved my life. You've changed me. Your self-esteem courses have been incredible. I'm not the same person as I was when I first met you. And I just want to say nothing proud of you.
You did all the work. Not me.
How's it makes it me small?
I relate to, what was said just now about being in a rehab. And I remember I went to this really astonishing, high-end rehab, and Nikki was my counselor. And boy, she was like with that. She walked in there, she had the biggest calves, the biggest legs. I'm like, don't fuck with this shit. She never smiled. And, I always thought, I'm going to be like that. I'm going to be like this hardcore G.I. Joe kind of shit to get clean, And, then I suffered in active addiction for another 9 years. So that was real hard. And I reached out to her again, and I got to her offices. And boy, it was just like sunshine and roses. I was like, what happened? This chick got like an exorcism or something. What happened? She's so happy. She's getting hugs all around. She's smiling all the time. It's very good. She's so good. And, that was the first thing that came to my next. And, when you started speaking about self-esteem, it didn't make sense to me at all. It really didn't. To affirm myself in so many ways on a daily basis and be consistent with it is something really, not common to me. Because it's true, you're taught to live in a certain way, get good grades, get a degree, be this person that dresses all nice all the time, but, next, you've not only increased and improved my well-being in terms of what I think about myself, but you introduced me into a passion of horse riding, which I will also be forever grateful for, and thank you for, putting me on that road and identifying, these dreams that I had for myself. I don't think anyone else could do that for me. So I love you and I really appreciate it.
In the old days, they used to call heroin horse. Now when I say I'm going to use horse, it's very different.
That's a long silent moment.
Sure. I was just typing on our social media and I was thinking what the actual word is. I can't think of anything else but surreal. I think for me, in my personal journey in recovery, many years ago when I started this journey, I already knew who you were and what you were doing. And I kept thinking by myself, maybe, if I'm really lucky, maybe one day I can be that, I can stand and say and speak. And I never thought that it would be possible. And to be able to serve on your team, it's so much different than being now. It's so incredible to stand as a woman with all of the things that's happened in the past and not wanting to tell people anymore what the story is. I'm thinking of you where the story comes to life now. And it's so amazing where you inspire hope and you inspire us to speak and to stand. And I just want to say congratulations. I'm so happy for you and I'm so proud.
Thank you.
So we're going to be winding up unless someone has a desperate need to say. I remember in meetings, do you want to say something? Come along then.
I don't think I need a microphone.
Okay.
Sorry. Hi, my name's Nick and I'm an alcoholic. Sorry, wrong meeting. So, Nikki, very simple. I've known you for a long time. And you came from the deepest darkness and you found the light and you've made it your life's mission to take people out of darkness into light. And you use your kindness, your brutal honesty, which many of us need. And that's it, you change lives. And we are all better for having met you.
If you hang around, Nick will tell you how I really helped him in his life.
Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
I want to thank all of you for being the most spectacular audience. You've been so engaging, so generous, so truthful, and I feel like the light has spread in beautiful ways tonight. Nikki, I'm even in awe of you. And I mean, I was in awe of you, but even more so tonight, because I just see how much people love you, and how much change you've made, and how much change you are making, and how you will continue to spread the light. So, yeah.
Can I just say to you, Melinda, like, you've been the best mom.
Have I? Even a bit abandoning?
Absolutely. And I know your son's here now. I know he's probably thinking,
Really?
really? But like as a publisher, as a guide, as an inspiration, like we wouldn't, even if we had someone else publishing it wouldn't have been this.
Wouldn't have been this. Well, thank you. It's been an intense, this has been one of the most intense books that I've ever worked on. And Alka, Nikki, and I know exactly why. But inside here, guys, there is a lot of, there's magic. Okay, magic, because it's changing everything. I want to thank,
We have one online comment.
oh gosh, when are we going to end this? I mean, every time I'm trying to say, and we're going to end it, what is the
Okay,
comment?
so from Leanne, says, I think so many people...
Take the microphone, please.
Okay, cool, there we are. All right, is it going to reach you? Okay, oh, okay, cool. Well, reading is not my strong suit. So from Leanne, I think so many people on this journey can benefit from your wisdom. Can you share how you found yourself, compassion, and were able to reparent yourself?
Well, Celia helped put together a program called The Golden Key, Self-Esteem for Addiction Recovery. That is not a simple question to answer. It's just about starting the process. It's about getting to know yourself, and like Vicky said earlier, being able to reaffirm to yourself these things on a daily basis so that we can plant the information through repetition, and so we can get started on a different pathway, one that's not been walked on before, which is challenging, but so very, very worth it.
And read the book and you'll find out exactly how. I just want to also thank my publishing house. I've got an imprint called Melinda Ferguson Books, but I am part of a bigger company called Envy Publishers. I have 3 wonderful women over there in the room tonight who all work tirelessly to make these books happen and to get them out there. So Nikki, another Nikki, Taryn and Vicky, thanks for being here tonight. The 3 beautiful women over there. Exclusive Books Rosebank is my go-to place. I'm always choosing this particular shop to launch books because this dude is just the best. Even though he forgot to stock my book tonight, it didn't actually matter. But you really create such a beautiful space, and I just want to thank you for having us.
I'm not going to stand in front of you and bore you, but 2 things. Mel, it's always great to have you here, and it's always great to launch your books here. And to Andy for trusting us with this every time. This has been the second home of Andy, and I just love having you here. And I'm not going to say anything about not having you.
Oh, don't worry.
Can I ask all of you here? I don't do this often, but can I ask all of you here to stand up, if you don't mind? This is how we're going to do it. And Nikki, this is to you, my darling. And let me thank you for being here. You've been great. The crowd has been amazing. And this is how we're going to go. It's 1, 2, 3, and then we can go.
Thank you. Like, when I walked in, he looked at me and he was like, "You look familiar." I was like, "Yes." So thank all of you.
So we've got the books at the back for those who still need to buy books. And And the book signing is going to happen on this big table on the center here. And you guys have been amazing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.